Evening, folks. Welcome back to the Cork Hurling Pod. Pod run by a Cork Hurling fan for Cork Hurling people, just talking Cork Hurling and Cork GAA. We're on episode 4. I'm recording this the Thursday night before the Kilkenny Cork Hurling game. It's the 26th of February. So tonight, I don't think tonight's going to be a long one. We don't have a game to talk about. I've had games to talk about most of the pods. So we don't have games to talk about. We'll have a game to talk about next week, thank God. I'll be up to the Kilkenny game, so I'll fill you in on that. Because I always think it's different watching it in the stand than watching TV, so I will fill you in on what I saw. But tonight, so I don't know, will be a long one. So I'll do homework first, like I always do. But I'm going to do I'll do a bit on the news, what's going around the county, the news going on around the county, and I'm going to do a bit of Liam Sheedy's comments on the Irish Examiner hurling podcast there a week and a half ago. So they're the two sections. And I'll just cover the news and that. So I don't know when it'll be long, but it could be, I don't know. You wouldn't know, because there's a few things to get through to in the news. But just to get the homework out of the way with, like I probably will do at the start of every pod, and you probably all be driven daft listening to me say it. But please share, subscribe, recommend it to your friends, get it out there. It's doing well. I'm delighted with how it's doing. I'm absolutely delighted with the numbers. Well, let's just keep it going. You know, I'd love to keep going, people to hear all these issues being talked about and discussed. So do whatever you can. Like, share, subscribe on YouTube or on Twitter. Now, if you are following me on Twitter, my handle's there on the page. You see it there on the YouTube page. I will follow you back if I can. If you follow me, so my DMs will be open. Now, some people have their accounts on private, so I won't be badgering you. You obviously want to be private for a reason, so I won't be badgering you. And some accounts I just won't follow because they're just too odd. Like, I'm like, Jesus Christ. When I look at the account, I'm like, I'm not following them anyway. Right-wing nuts. You know, you get the odd few that are there. But yes, I will follow you. And I want to say a massive thanks to all those who did leave comments in the last episode. There's the 7 or 8 comments there, and they're all very positive. I'm delighted with it. And fellas getting involved in the debate. And they had a lot of encouraging words, so I'm thrilled with it. And I got a few comments on Twitter as well. Saying how that they were happy with the podcast. And you know, it means a lot when people are listening in and they're happy with it. You get the 1 or 2 negative comments, right? Look, that's just life. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But in general, the comments have been very encouraging, and I greatly appreciate it. I just say thanks a million for the comments and keep them coming. As I say, I want this to be like a place where fans can debate stuff and talk about stuff. So keep those comments coming. I read them all, and I try to respond to them all. So I just say thanks a million for those who did. So I even had a Tipperary man in the comment section on YouTube saying he enjoyed the listen. And I was like, if he's listening to a Cork pod being for Tipperary, he must be mad about hurling. Because he must be mad about hurling to listen to other counties' pods. And if he's mad about hurling and he enjoyed the pod, then I'm definitely taking that as a compliment. I'm taking that as a big win. And if he's listening tonight, he's not going to like this episode, because I'm going to be going in on his boy, their Messiah, Liam Sheedy, tonight. And that'll be at the end of the pod. I'll be going in on him, and I'll be well within my right to go in on him. So that'll come towards the end. But it's great to see some from another country listening, and they're happy, they enjoyed it, which is great. All hurling people are welcome here, all GA people. Right, so I'm going to move on now. Let's move on to the news section. So I'm just going to give 5 minutes to football, and I'm going to talk about a very important decision that was made last week. The clubs voting down the extension of the season, the inter-county season, which I'm delighted with. I'm delighted the clubs are standing up for themselves in this one. I'm all for the split season. And then I'm going to talk about the UCC fresher game that happened last night against UL. We lost. I don't like Cork is not a wee, or UCC is not a wee thing when it comes to Cork hurling, but it is a big thing. And they lost by 44 points. 44 points. Like my alarm bells are ringing here now over this result, and I'm going to get into that. And the other thing I'm going to talk about in the news section. So we have football clubs voting down the extended season, the UCC game. I was at Scoil hurling meeting tonight. And I'm going to touch on one big thing for me that came out of it. One big encouraging thing for me that came out of it. So I'm going to talk about that. So I'm going to start with football. Look, I won't spend too long on this. I'll only give it 4 or 5 minutes. Please listen to the Cork football pod. He is excellent. He knows what he's talking about. He's after a 25-minute pod in the Meath game. You know, so listening to him, he knows a lot more about it than me, and he'll go into the bigger detail than I would. But I do follow the football. I do follow it as well. And I was over at the Meath game, and I'll just say, what a win. What a win, and what a game. Jesus, a great game to be at. Like, Park Green suits us down to the ground now for the atmosphere, but the game of football now is just so much better than what it was a couple of years ago. And you have to give Jarlath Burns massive credit for that. He could have went in there and just done the easy ambassadorial stuff and made his bit of money when he was in there, and and cut the ribbons and the pitches and all this, but he went in there to make change. He had the courage to change things, and football was struggling, and he went in there with the balls to change it, and fair play to him. And he got the right people involved with the right brains. He got Jim Gavin involved, Ian Fitzmaurice, Colin Collins, these guys who love football to the core. And we don't agree with all their implementations, but there's no denying the game is so much better off now for what they've done. We should all be thankful for them because they really pulled the game out of the doldrums and it's back. And the one thing I would say, if you're a hurling fan, which you would be listening to this, and you're humming and hawing whether to go in and see the Cork footballers against Kildare, I would wholeheartedly tell you, go in and watch it. The football is a lot more exciting these days. I mean, get on board, and the Cork footballers are actually going well at the moment, so get in there and support them. I would deeply encourage you to go in there and give the lads the support in Park you're in. It's Patrick's weekend, so it's got a lot going to be going on. That Kildare game will be no easy game. There are no easy games in Division 2. I bar that Offaly game. So it's going to be a test, and it's going to be a good game again. Because of the new rules, you will get your money's worth. So I would say go in and support the lads. You will not be disappointed. It's not like the football of old. And just on the win, it was a great win, a great game. As I say, we have not been good underage for the last few years. That is clear. We have not been good. We have produced two players that I think are absolute gems. The only guy who have come through, and geez, they were brilliant the last day on Sunday. And that's Liam Sheedy from Bantry and Tommy Walsh from Kenturkle. These guys were always coming through. We always knew about them, but they are delivering. That's the great thing. They have come in now and they're delivering. They had Tommy Walsh in the back the last day. It's his first time out there, and geez, I thought he was outstanding in the second half. When we were under pressure against the wind, he carried a pile of ball up the field, up the centre. And when he wasn't carrying the ball then, he was making these runs up the field, dragging the Meath press off our backline when they were under pressure. I thought he was a storming game. Even when he wasn't on the ball, he was doing things. When he was on the ball, then he was driving forward. I thought he was excellent. And I thought Liam Sheedy was outstanding as well. Like in the second half, we were against the wind, and geez, he dropped down. He's playing centre forward. He's big, strong now. He's strong boy on now. He's at the ball keeper a lot in last year. And he dropped down the field time and time again to pick the ball up out of our backline and work it out, to relieve the pressure when our backs are under pressure. He dropped deep time and time again. And like that for me is massive ownership and leadership. And that's a lot of leadership coming from a 20-year-old there now, and the game is on the line, and he's going hunting for the ball. He's not hiding. He wants it, and he wanted the ball, and he was getting on the ball, and he was getting us out of trouble. I was so impressed with him because I watched him a lot underage, and I've always thought he's good. But my own man has always had his doubts about him, saying he's not strong enough. Jesus, he's definitely here now, and he's here to stay. That's our centre forward and centre back taking care of for the next 10 years, hopefully. The midfield, the two lads, absolute warriors. We are blessed. We have as good a midfield as any now in Cork in football, like with Colin O'Callaghan and Maguire. Two great warriors, great battlers. And if you break even in midfield in a new game, you stand a chance in every game. And these guys will battle hard with everyone. And the one thing the hurlers can learn about these two, these guys are enforcers. They are going to put their will on the opposition midfield. They're going to go out and try and dominate them. They're not going to sit back and wait for the others to see are they going to try and dominate us. They're going to go out and take them on and get on top of them. They're two tough cookies. We kind of are ahead of the curve because of our bad coaching, our bad tactics. We only had one kick-out strategy for the last 4 or 5 years. And it used to drive me insane that we had only one kick-out. And it was a kick-out to the overload all the time. So you're basically punting a 50-50 ball into a crowd. Kick it to an overload was their tactic. We never had any short kick-outs. It used to drive me insane. But because of that then, when they changed the rules, we were already battle-hardened around the middle of the field because of our kick-out strategy. We were used to those battles in the air and those 50-50 battles under the dropping ball and the kick-outs. When all the other teams were going short with their kick-outs and working these kick-out strategies, we were relying on battles to win the ball, and now all teams have to rely on battling qualities to win the ball. So we kind of stole a march on them that way, inadvertently, through our own bad tactics. And geez, those two guys would put it up to anyone. Now, I saw Maguire sending off, it was right in front of me. And as you know, I harp on about discipline a lot. And I could have killed that young fella for what he did. For me, there's no excuses for what he did. I love the guy, and he's the one warrior, and I felt sorry for him, because he's the one guy last 10 years who's really carried that team in his back. He's always fought the fight. But I just would not forgive him for that, because he's captain as well. That lack of discipline, he put the team in line in jeopardy last night. We just held on in the end. I thought we were gone when he was sent off, to be honest. I thought we were done. I could have killed him for what he did, and he did react. It was only a small thing. But you just can't react these days, because the players will make a meal of it, and the player did. He rolled around the floor like an Egypt, and the referee bought it. And he was only too willing to flash the red. He was only too willing to buy it. If the Lions had actually spotted it, told the ref. So you just can't give anyone that little excuse to roll around the floor anymore. And he did. He did react, and he gave him an excuse. And the last thing I would say about it, and I'll move on, is say listen to John's podcast. He'll tell you way more about the football. It's called a Cork Football Pod. In that game now, I counted 6 goal chances we missed. No, we've good forward line there now because McDonald's at to push you on now a lot as well, and so is Cronin and Ian Jones, and these guys are forwards are playing well. But we missed about 6 goal chances, and it's a recurring theme with that team. The goal chances are missing games, and I always think, sure, someday it will click, someday it will click, someday it will click, and it's just not clicking. Whatever it is about the finishing or the practicing during the finishing, the blasting balls over the bar and all this stuff. Now, we got 6 points out of our 6 goal chances. We did 9 points out of them. Like, one of them, there was a goal on, he fisted over the bar. One of them, he tried to take it around the goalie, Paul Walsh did. It went up for 45, and we kicked the 45. We got another point there. And the other 4 ones, we blasted over the bar. So we did get a return of 6 points out of them. But I'm waiting for the day when we click and those balls go into the back of net. We will unload on some team someday. And I'm praying to God, if there's a God above at all, if he's listening to this, can that day please happen this year below in Killarney in the Munster final? You know what I mean? God damn it, if we get those goals that we can do, and if we did it in the Munster final against in Killarney, God, we'll bury them, and I'll be so, I'll be no one happier than me going down there and beating them. That crowd, them over there, them, you all know them, we all want them bet. But I just hope the day that it does click, we are playing green and gold in a Munster final or up in Croke Park or something. You know what I mean? And that Munster final, it's bloody after the Waterford round robin game. The round robin games is down Saturday night below in Waterford. And then the Cork Kerry games is Sunday then, the next day. So it's like from one side of the province to the other. But then if we won down there, I'd never forget, because I'm thinking about staying down in Waterford for the night, like do a night out, because it's a Saturday night game. There's a good crack below in Waterford there. They like the Jake in Walsh Park is right next to Rowan Moore and De La Salle J clubs, and it's good to go for 2 points for games and all that. But I'm just like, I said I'd go out Saturday night after the Waterford game. We could be drowning our sorrows, who knows? But Jesus, I'd be like the next day, if I can't get to Killarney and we actually did win the Munster final, I'd never forgive myself. I'd never forgive myself if I wasn't there for it. But I think we're in a real shot this year beating them. Now Limerick will be no pushovers. We saw them in the Talton Cup last year. They're no pushovers at all. And we saw Marsh Brosnan did an excellent article on them in the Irish Examiner where he was in their camp for the week in the run-up to the Talton Cup final. And geez, they're well coached by, as I'll say that. And we know there's no shortage of money there. Anyway, that's enough of football. Let's move on. You're here for the hurling. Let's talk about the hurling. So let's get to the clubs voting down the extension of the extended inter-county calendar. Now, I'm all for this because I love the club game. And the club game is the bedrock of our association. It's what's making the GAA. And I can't understand. Well, I do understand. I know exactly why the media are pushing this narrative. And it's all the media. It's the mainstream media pushing this narrative that, we need to extend the season. We need to extend the season. We need more exposure for our games. We need to promote our games. The game will be nothing without the club game. We'll be cutting off we'll have no game without the club game. We can't have that. Like, Jesus, I'm totally against it. And I'm tired of the media cribbing about it. They only look after themselves, really. They've stuff to write about and stuff to talk about. They're looking after their own back. They're saying that, we need exposure for the games. They're only looking after themselves. They're like, if they had real interest, they'd be saying, yeah. If they had real interest in the GAA, they'd be saying, yeah. Well, they do have interest in it, but they'd be saying, we need the club game. And Cork, we need those weeks. We need every one of those weeks. Because we're a dual county, and it's great we're a dual county. And I actually love going to the club games when there's all championship weekends on. You have the games Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Sunday night, Saturday evening, and Sunday. They're great. Like, go to those games. You go to 2 or 3 games a week at the weekend, and you'll get great games. And I actually love going to them, so I'm delighted that the club stood up for themselves here in this one, and they voted it down. Now, Kevin Dunnan was involved in the steering committee in Croke Park in this, so he was part of this proposal. And I was kind of like, geez, how is he pushing this? But I'd say he went up there to be part of the steering committee to try and steer them from not extending Croke Park from not extending the season too long. I'd say he went in there to fight it, in fairness to them. And then they settled on 2 weeks extension, so I'd say he's kind of happy enough with that they didn't go any longer. And so he came down to from what I'm hearing from the delegates, anyway, he came down to the meeting when they were talking about it, and he kind of said, like, he was anti the extension first, And then he kind of said at the meeting, look, sure, we're only going to lose, said the hurlers are going to be playing first anyway in the All-Ireland final, and they're going to be playing the second round of the championship fixtures. They'll be on the second weekend, so he's like, it doesn't really affect them. It's kind of like, we're only going to lose a week or something, he said. But then he said, and I can't believe he said this, and he said, sure, the football, we're not, he kind of said, when they were like, what if the footballers get to the All-Ireland? And he kind of said, we're not expecting them to get to the All-Ireland for the next 5 or 6 years, was his answer. And I was like, Jesus Christ, if you're John Cleary listening to that, or if you're the players in the dressing room listening to that, saying, geez, our head honcho here doesn't even believe in us. I can't believe he said that to delegates. He said, we don't have to worry about the footballers getting to the final. Like, Jesus, that did not sit right with me when he said that. Like, I was kind of like, why, you might believe that personally, but don't be coming out and saying it. Don't be letting, John Cleary must be like losing faith in him altogether when he's hearing things like that. He's must be saying, you backing me at all here. Like, I know he's probably realistic. We probably won't be there in the next 4 or 5 years. But geez, don't be sending out the message from the top. Do not be sending that message out down to the troops that, we don't think you're any good. You're not going to get to the final in the next 4 or 5 years. So the extension there is not going to affect us. And the footballers are going, well, Jesus, who knows how the season could end with them. But yeah, I was just dismayed at that comment, that kind of attitude, like, we can extend the season because our footballers are not going to be in the last game of the season. That sort of crap. That sort of attitude up there. It's always hurling up there, like, the football can be, thrown under the bus. Anyway, right, move on to the UCC game. The Freshers were playing last night in the semi-final against UL. And the score, I could not believe it when I saw it in Twitter, the result. It was UL 8-32, UCC 12 points. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, a hammering is usually 9 or 10 or 11 points. And you could live with that and could say, all right, okay, but Jesus, losing by 44 points is serious alarm bells ringing there for me. Because your college game is really your elite game, kind of like inter-county is kind of elite. Like, it's very elite. I don't like it because it's so elitist. That's why I don't like it. But so some of our best guys there now would have been in there. Like Barry O'Flynn was playing now. Our supposed best guys are probably in there. But and just to see a hammering like that, I'm like, Jesus, that's a massive red flag here for what we're doing at underage level, like what we're not producing. And what the other counties are producing. Like their top guys would have been on that UL team, like, and they are just miles ahead of our top guys. And like the UCC team only had 8 Cork players on that team, which is crazy when you think it was a rubbish UCC team because they got hammered, yet we could only still get 8 on it. Like usually UCC teams are dominated by Cork guys, and yet this is one of the worst UCC teams of all time. If they lost by 32 to 12 points. They lost by 44 points. It must be an awful team. Yet we still had only 8 guys who were good enough to get on there. So how bad are the rest of the guys in there? It's very worrying. And I know it's a college game, and the colleges is not everything. And I know it's only a fresher game, but geez, you do see red flags, and that was a red flag for me right there. And I said, I'm not going to ignore this now. I'm going to bring this up in the pod and see what other people think about it. Are you as vexed or worried about it as I am? Geez, it's a big worry for me anyway. And like I was talking last week about don't write off the under-20s, like, but a lot of those under-20s in fairness weren't involved in the UCC team, but they're playing against these UCC guys. Like, those UCC guys are a representation of the standard of club hurling that's going on out there. So our under-20s are playing against these guys, and they're playing in the same standard as these UCC guys, even if those UCC guys aren't on the Cork setup. It's just a big worry for me when I saw that. Now, I know UL are ploughing money into their facilities and are ploughing money into scholarships and all this, They're just a mega college now. They won the double in the football and hurling, like. So they're always going to be hard to compete with. But Jesus, don't be getting beat by 44 points. That's a worry. Yeah, and as I say, like I'm not big into the college game. I don't think we should be getting as much preference in the calendar as it is. Like, they're moaning the whole time about not getting somewhere in the calendar, and they're eating into the national leagues. I'd be playing it off before the national league even starts. I'd be getting it out of the way because it's only for such a select few. It's only for the elite, and they're just eating away too much into the calendar. And every year they're on the media then, and they're getting media time cribbing about it. Like, I actually won a Fresher B All Ireland hurling. So I played third level hurling, and I really enjoyed it. I had a great year. Really enjoyed it. Played with some of the best players I'd ever played with. 2 guys went out playing in All Ireland final with Limerick in the team we had. And Eamon Cregan was coach us. So I had a great year. But even me, I'm still like, no, it's not for me. It's not for me. Yeah, so Cregan coached me, like, and he was some man to diagnose you as a hurler. God, he would never be. He was never like big into drills or anything like that. Like one of my old principals told me, there are no magic drills. When it comes to coaching, people have these fancy drills, think they're going to do things, but it's all about how you apply yourself during the drills. But his drills are rubbish. A lot of his stuff was like, he'd do it for an hour every Tuesday and Thursday training. He'd run it himself, and a lot of it was just back and forth, pucking back and forth. But he would rip your game to shreds. He would analyse you inside out just by looking at you pucking the ball around. He'd pick out the things in your game. And like, we were adults then, like we were 19, 20 in college, So we were well on the road then. We were well made as hurlers, like, and he, even with me, like, he pointed out things like that he saw in my game that would never have been said to me in the club down home. Like, one of them was, he said, the way I'm striking the ball, I was getting down under the ball with the hurley. So he wanted me striking with the hurley parallel to the ground when I was striking through the ball. He said, get that hurley straighter, parallel to the ground. It's great, like, one-on-one coaching, just shows the value of coaching, like, working in your players, getting after your players, and looking at the technical side of it. It's like, for me, like, he's the legend of the game, but it's great management. And the other one he always wanted me to do, he was always big into, was play at the side you get it. he was always big into that when you got to the ball, use your momentum, go forward and puck it off that side. He didn't like it checking back onto the other side. He was always like, you're going through the ball. If you're going through the ball, attack it from right to left, keep going left and get it off. Get out of your hands quickly. He was big into that. But it was just like, I have great respect for him, the way he worked on a guy's game and picked out a guy's game. And it was all through just observing you pucking around or observing you in training and then saying it, working it, not leaving it. Like, I thought with coaching the last day in the Cork setup, I do look at it and I just thought he was a good coach. He was never a guy for the drills and all that. Like, and he brought in Jamie Wall later on then to do all that sort of stuff and tactics. He was never a guy for tactics. He was a lunatic on the line. He was a lunatic. He was competitive as hell. Like, you could see why he was such a winner with Limerick. He hated losing. He'd go mad in the line. But he was great crack in the dressing room. But I just loved the way he looked at your game. Like, it didn't matter who you were. Didn't matter who you were. You just look at what you're doing. And you're striking the ball and all these small technical things. Great hurling man. The next one, let's move on. So we've got football out of the way with. Got the clubs out of the way with. We got the homework out of the way with. We got the UCC game. What a disaster. Oh yeah, the Sciath Scoil tonight. I was down at the Sciath Scoil meeting. They have 2 meetings every year. So the Sciath Scoil is just primary schools competition basically. You all know it. If you're a GAA people, Cork hurling people. Great name as well, Sciath Scoil. Usually it's primary games everywhere else, but we are Sciath Scoil by good old Irish one. But so they do the football at the start of the year, and that's kind of like the AGM. And there's a lot more usually said at the AGM. It's a bit more entertaining. Tonight was a bit of a damn squib, to be honest. The hurling then is more like the fixtures for the hurling, they give them out. So there was nothing really discussed tonight. But something came up towards the end. And in fairness now to Sean Lyons. Sean Lyons now, Colm Lyons, the inter-county referee, Nemo Rangers. His brother is Sean Lyons. He's principal below in Ballinlough Boys, St. Anthony's. They'd be one of the bigger schools down in the city. And they're always up at the top. But something came out of the meeting tonight. It just dawned. It was encouraging to hear it, but it was kind of like when I was walking home, I was thinking, how have we never thought about this before? I was walking home in the meeting and I said, how have we never done this before? What he's done is, he's introduced, and it's crazy when I say this now, you'd be like, what? Oh, is this only happening now? He's, for the first time that I've ever been involved in Sciath Scoil anyway, and I'd say it's the first time ever, they've put in a St. Anthony's Boys B team. They've put in a second team. Now, it's absolutely crazy when you think about it, that like, we've never had schools before that have entered more than one team. It's just insane when you think about it. In fairness to him now, that's the first step. They've brought in a B team this year, and they've been set up, and it was kind of unfortunate, like, because he wanted, like, it wasn't the chairman's fault there now, he wasn't even there tonight, and the guy who was chairing the meeting wasn't his fault either. There was the girl who was doing the fixtures, called out the fixtures, and all they had the speech beforehand and all this sort of stuff, and she called out the fixtures, and then she said, right, go on away and fix your fixtures, instead of saying, because after you go out about the room then fix your fixtures with the other schools, instead of saying, is there any other business? Because he wanted to bring this up, like you do at the end of all meetings. And he brought it up then, but everyone's kind of scattered around the room so people didn't hear it properly. But he brought it up. He just wanted to thank because he got onto them late. He wanted to thank Sciath Scoil for letting them allow a B team in and for finding them a section to have them in. But the reason he was saying it, basically, he was aiming it at all the other big schools in the room. Basically saying we should be setting up a separate competition here for B teams. That's why he wanted to be heard. That's why he wanted to bring it up. He was thanking them, but he was thanking them for a reason. He wanted to tell the other schools, we need to have B teams in here. There are big schools out there in Ballincollig, Carrigaline, where else, Middleton, Glanmire, these big population areas. And some of those schools are huge, and there's no reasons why they shouldn't have B teams in there. Because we all know at the moment that hurling is on fire in Cork, and kids are mad for it. And if a kid wants hurling, you give him hurling. No matter how good or strong or how weak he is, you give him that hurling. We need them all. We want them all playing hurling. And so we have to be putting B teams into these big schools if the interest is there. And I'm delighted he brought it up, and I hope they go about now next year. Fix a section for B teams, these big schools. And as I say, it's insane really that it hasn't happened before now that I think about it. I was just going to have the road think about it. That how insane is that? And I never even thought about myself that we should have second teams in. Fair play to them for going about it. Fair play to Sciath Scoil for letting them in. And I hope other schools jump on it now next year. Because we want everyone hurling. And if kids are mad about hurling at the moment, which they are, and I've seen it at my own school, I've had kids coming up to me telling me they were going to the Cork Tipperary game that I thought would never go to those sort of games. And I was like, geez, they're going to the games. The interest level is high now, so we need to jump on it. If kids want to play hurling now, let's jump on it and get them involved, because it'll only stand to us in the long term. Let's use the momentum we have now. So I hope going forward, Sciath Scoil will be like, let's have a B section. And I thought it was a great positive out of the meeting tonight. As I say, nothing else happened in the meeting tonight. When that came out, I hope now it's a way forward for these other schools to get second teams involved. Now, I'm at the end of my news there now. And what I will say, if anything else I'll talk about. No, I'll get on to Liam Sheedy. Liam Sheedy in his comments. Right, let's get on to them. Right, I want to talk now about Liam Sheedy's comments that were on the Irish Examiner Sports, their hurling podcast that they do every week. Well, he was on after Tipperary game, so it wasn't the last podcast they did. It was the one week before that. So I'm going to talk about his comments there now. I'd be pretty cool enough dude. I'd be calm enough. I'd be cool enough dude. And you need a lot of patience for the job that I'm in, and I like to think I have patience. But his comments just kind of got under my skin. So I just want to talk about his comments because they did kind of when he said them, I was like, he was kind of joking when he said them. And then when I thought of him later, I was like, you effer. I was like, you kind of got under my skin. I was like, we better answer him now. So I want to get into what he said. Now, I start off by saying I like Liam Sheedy. I like him a lot. I like his analysis. I kind of like his, I'd say, a great manager, like real direct, passionate, energetic, won't back down from anyone, like kind of real fighter, motivator, knows his hurling, intelligent. Like he's the exact kind of guy that I'd love to have on the sideline for Cork. And when I see him, when he was going up against those Kilkenny teams, like geez, he was giving them everything. No, I don't want him in charge of Cork because I never want a Tipperary man in charge of Cork. I'd never go that far. No way, no way, Jose. So I actually like him, and his comments at the start of the show, they were spot on. But it's the comments at the end of the show that I want to get into that kind of pissed me off, basically. So at the start of the show, you probably saw that. You might have seen these comments. They kind of clipped them short. They did shorts out of them. I saw on YouTube or somewhere as well. But he was on about the manliness and stuff. He was calling out like manliness. Fouling is not manliness, and he is spot on about this. Like fouling is not manliness. That's just stupidity. And he did say that, and I agree with him totally. And I've been banging on with stupid frees and the discipline and stuff. So he was on that as well. He was saying that at the start of the podcast about they were on about Ben's comments, and he's saying that's not manliness, that's just stupidity when you're losing the fouling count. And he's dead right, and I agree with him on that. But at the end of the show then, he came up with his comments, kind of like in garbage time of the show, and I'm going to talk about those now. And it's not as much what he said, it's why he said it, and more importantly, why he thinks he can get away with saying it. That's what it is, and I'm going to talk about it now. So what he said was, he can turn around and defend himself saying all he's saying is facts, and they are facts. So what he's saying is true. Like there's no other time when he said it is true, but it's why he said it and why he feels like he can get away with saying it, and we need to get a backup about it. So what he said was that he was up in Tipperary and they were talking and at the J pitch with his locals, whatever, and they brought up the fact that Tipperary have been to 4 All-Ireland finals recently and won all 4, and Clare have been to 2 All-Ireland finals recently and won both of them, and Limerick have been to 6 All-Ireland finals and won all of them. And then he said, sure, Cork have been to 4 All-Ireland finals and haven't won any of them. So he's right in what he's saying. These are facts, these are true, and these are galling facts, and they hurt us all. But I was just thinking when I thought about I was saying, why is he saying that? He didn't have to say that. It came up at the end of the show, at garbage time in the show when they were only joking around, messing, and he brought it up. He did not have to say it. He could have left it in the training ground where he was, the J pitch up to Tipperary. He could have left it there. But he did bring it up, and he wanted to bring it up. And why did he want to bring it up? Because he wanted to stick the needle in. He wanted to drive the needle into all of us in Cork GAA. He was taking a dump on all of us basically when he said it. He's a smart guy, right? And he's blue and gold to the core. And he would not say anything that would jeopardize Tipperary hurling, alright? But he would never say something to put that Tipperary team in jeopardy. So he would have weighed up his comments. He's saying, will I say this or won't I say it? But he chose to say it because he feels in his heart of heart that the Cork players that we have in Jersey at the moment are not going to come back and ram those words down his throat. And we need to take that personally, especially the players. We need to ram those words down his throat. What he's saying is true, but he didn't have to say it. But he wanted to drive the needle in and shove our noses in it down in Cork by pointing this out to everyone. He could have left it up in the Tipperary J grounds, but he came on a national podcast and brought it up and was only too delighted to bring it up. He shoved our noses in it, and he obviously feels in his heart of hearts that he can get away with it because he thinks our players don't have the guts to answer him. It's an awful, it's a damning indictment of what they're thinking about us in Cork out there, that he feels like he can get away with a comment like that. Most managers out there, our ex-players, would never say anything about their team that would put their team in jeopardy and motivate the other team. So he would have weighed it up is this going to motivate Cork versus Tipperary? And he said, actually I'm going to say it anyway because they're not going to come up here and beat us in Thurles. They are cocksure beat us in the first round of Thurles. They think Cal's going to do a number on us again and that we'll fold. So he obviously weighed it up and he said, I'm going to say it anyway. And we need to start taking that personally. The way he feels he can get away with saying it. And the thing that galled me about it as well, he said it, and Mark Landers was there, and Mr. Mark Landers can't answer that because it is true. The facts are true. So he has to sit there and take that. And this is the same Mark Landers, right? Hero of Cork to an All-Ireland final in 99. But it's the same Mark Landers who was one of the best wing backs in the country in 98. When I was watching him, we got to the league, we won the league. We got beaten by Clare, right? Who were strong, all right, in the semi-final. But he's outstanding wing back. But he gave up his game in 1999 for the Cork jersey. But Jimmy asked him to go out in midfield because we needed a bit of steel. That's the same Mark Landers now. He sacrificed his own game at wing back, where he's one of the best wing backs in the country, and he did it for the team in Cork hurling. He went out to the middle of the field where he was not comfortable, but he went out there anyway, and he sacrificed himself for Cork hurling. That Mark Landers, he's saying this in front of this Mark Landers. And it's the same Mark Landers in the 99 final against Kilkenny. Had to sit there and listen to this from him. The same Mark Landers who dived on a ball in the middle of Croke Park. I was up there in my first All-Ireland final. I saw win Cork winning in the flesh in 99, the pissing rain. There was a loose ball broke around the middle, and he lost it hurley. And of course, the warrior that he was, he went down on his hands and knees over the ball. He didn't care who was pulling on what. He put his body on the line for the cause. And this Mark Landers had to sit there and take that from Liam Sheedy. And he can't answer it. Mark Landers can't answer that. The only one who can answer those comments are the players. If Mark Landers could answer that, he would. He's that type of warrior for us. So the players now need to be, I hope they're listening to this, what Liam Sheedy said, and I hope they're saying what Mark Landers had to sit through there. And it happened to all of us, and it happened in the All-Ireland final to Donald Cusack. It was one of the lowest moments I've ever had at a J match, and I'll never forget it. It was up there with the losing finals that we had in football against Kerry. It was just a low moment. As far as the end of the game, and the Sunday game panel had to walk from their seats up the sideline to the corner. And Donald Cusack was walking out in front, and this was garbage time when we were being hammered. And Liam Sheedy was jumping around like a jackass behind them, fist pumping the crowd and cheering the crowd and hollering and jumping around like a jackass, basically. And again, Donald Cusack had to stand there and take that from him. You know? The same Donald Cusack who, took dogs of abuse for his own personal life for Cork hurling. But he still stood between the posts for Cork. And he manned it, and he faced down the abuse. He didn't care what kind of abuse he was taking about his personal life. He stood there, and he faced it down, all in the name of the Cork jersey. One of our heroes, and he brought home 3 All-Irelands, would die for the cause. But he had to sit there then and take that from him, jumping around, celebrating in his face, walking down the sideline in Croke Park. I'll never forget it. And again, Donald Cusack can't answer him. It's down to the players. The only guys who can answer Liam Sheedy when he said what he said on the podcast, and when he jumped around the sideline in Croke Park celebrating, the only guys who can answer that sort of carry on now are the players with the jerseys on their backs from 1 to 30. Right? And I hope to God, the only way to answer him now, there's only one way to answer him now is, first thing we do is, we go up to Thurles and we beat the shit out of them in Thurles. That's a start. But the only way we can answer Liam Sheedy now in his comments and his carry on is to go up on the day of the All-Ireland final, to grab the Liam McCarthy with both hands, we take it. And the next day, we drive down the bus, the Liam McCarthy in the front of the bus, and we drive down the M8 right through the heart of Tipperary, and we say, "No, Liam Sheedy, look at that." You know, and it's the players have to go and do that. And we talk about, I hope to God, someone in the Cork in management or the players were watching that podcast and took it as personally as I did. You know, I hope they were listening. Because we talk about, modern day, they talk about motivation and motivating players. And it's all about, the modern way of thinking is that motivation has to be intrinsic. It has to come from the players, and it has to be intrinsic, and it has to be motivated by success. That's what sustains longest. All right? But in GAA, we all love this pin it on the dressing room wall psychology to motivate players. Right? And we can't look down our nose at that sort of psychology and motivation. Because we need every trick or gimmick in the book. We need to use it to our advantage to get over the line just this one time to break the 20-year famine. And here we have a guy now who's giving us ammunition. He's saying what he thinks about us because he thinks we won't ram those words down his throat. He's saying that about the players. You know, what he's saying is true, but the fact he's chosen to say it is speaking volumes of what he thinks of our Cork players. And it needs to be pointed out to them in training, and it needs to be pinned up in the dressing room wall. All right? I'm all for using that sort of psychology. To pin it up in the dressing room wall psychology, if it works, great, use it. Other countries are using it. Use it as fuel. Use it as fuel to drive those players every night in training to go out and answer this guy and all the other guys who are thinking that about us. Use it as fuel to go up and burn their house down, burn Simple Stadium to the ground in the first round of the Munster Championship. That's what we need to be doing, and I hope the Cork management are doing that and are using it, because the other counties are also using this method of motivation. They are not looking down in that way. It's kind of the pin it on the dressing room wall psychology is kind of frowned upon and looked down upon, because you're constantly looking for an angle then You're constantly looking for things outside of camp to motivate you, and they say it doesn't sustain. But we know other counties are using it still. So we need to be using it as well. And how do we know they're using it? Because the market leaders in sports psychology, Limerick, one of the greatest teams of all time, like Caroline Curran taught for psychology, they were using it, and they are using it. And how do we know they're using it? Because 2 or 3 years ago, the most ridiculous thing happened. Most ridiculous comments you'll ever hear. And you all remember it. What's his name? Johnny Kiley came out. This was bizarre what he said. He came out, it was like kind of on the run-up to the championship. And he came out and he gave out mad to the media about how the media were hyping up the team, and there was a softening up exercise, he called it. A softening up exercise to soften up the Limerick hurlers. People were constantly talking them up, which is ridiculous, obviously, because they were a great team at the time. And then, after the Munster Championship, they beat Clare. And would you believe it or not, Darragh O'Donovan said in the field in the interview afterwards, he said, people were writing us off, he said, and we had to answer them today. And I was like, so they're having it both ways now. If we're saying they're good, we're hyping them up. If we're saying Clare might beat them, we're saying they're writing them off. So they're having it both ways. So basically, they're bending over backwards to get the angle to find something to put up on the dressing room wall. And they're supposed to be market leaders in sports psychology, but they were doing it. And there's their evidence. And what they were doing, it was based fabrications, what they were making up in their heads. It was total lies. Like nobody was trying to soften up Limerick. They were just stating the truth that Limerick were a great team. And nobody had Limerick as underdogs going into the Clare final. So I don't know how he thought people were writing them off. The 2 comments are absolutely ridiculous. And they're having it both ways. So they're bending over backwards just to get something to pin up in the dressing room wall. So if it's good enough for Limerick, we need to be using Liam Sheedy's comments. Alright? We need to use them to drive the players in training to answer this guy. Let's use it as fuel. And we all need to get a backup about this. Because basically, when he takes a shot at our hurlers, he's taking a dump on all of us. Like I said in my first episode, in my mission statement, you know what this is about. Like I said, your inter-county team are a representation of all of us. The players are a product of what we are doing down the fields, down the training pitches at underage, all the games. The players are a product of all that. So they're a product of all the work we are doing. So when he's taking a shot at the players, he's taking a shot at all of us. He's taking a dump on Cork hurling. And enough is enough. We need to answer him. And the only way to answer him is to win the All-Ireland. That's the only way. You know, but I hope to God there's someone in there now listening. We're listening to his comments and are saying, hey, we're not letting him get away with this now. I'm not standing for that. You listen to this, lads, you know. They need to start taking it personally, and they need to use that method of motivation. I don't care what kind of method of motivation they use, as long as it gets us over the line. Any trick in the book, as I say. Yeah, so that's, you know, kind of got under my skin, which would be unlike me. But I just hope they're taking, the players there now are taking it as personally, and the management. And if not, I'll come in and give them I'll let me into the room for 5 minutes and I'll give them motivation, speak about what others are saying about them. You know, there's time to get pissed off about this. You know, they've been talking us down for years, like, and once we get some bit of success, then they're hyping the shit out of us, like, which, you know, is not right. And they're only taking great delight in us when we're not getting over the line then, even though they're building us up all year. And we need to start getting our back up about this, start developing a chip on our shoulder, and start using that old school psychology, motivation. Let's get to something dressing room wall what they're saying about us, lads. Yeah, she's like, it's a bit of a rant there now for me. A bit of a motivational rant, but yeah, it just kind of got under my skin. And this is like a week and a half ago, and I'm still kind of, as you can see, I'm still kind of vexed about it. But yeah, was anyone else listening to that? And did you pick it up that way? Like, you know, because at the time I was like, oh, you'd only joke at the end of the episode or whatever. And then when I thought about it, I was like, oh, the fucker, who does he think he is, you know? Yeah, so I hope someone was listening in the Cork camp. Get that in the dressing room wall, please. Drive the players in training. Your motivation is win the All-Ireland, but let's answer these guys at the same time. Let's use it. Right, that's it now. I hope you enjoyed the pod. You enjoyed my ranting there. You're getting carried away. And a bit of news and all that. As I say, it was going to be a short one tonight. I was going to tackle work rate in our teams. I was thinking about it. Like, 'cause I knew this would be a short one without a game to talk about, and I am going to get the work rate. I just like this. It's just this week's just been a busy week for me. I've had stuff on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so I haven't had the time to get my head around it. And I need to put a bit of thought into. I put a few thoughts into work rate, and I need to tie it up succinctly, so I get it out, and how I'm going to get my words out about it. But so I will tackle that next week, because we all saw. It was very ominous Saturday night. We all saw Limerick hammering Tipperary, and they gave us the template. It was right there in our faces and how to beat Tipperary. The work rate they had around the field just destroyed Tipperary's short game. It just kept breaking down because of the work rate the Limerick guys had off the ball. And I asked myself, like, there's the template now. And I said, do you actually believe Cork are going to go out with that intensity and work rate in the first round of Thurles? And I honestly don't. And I'm asking myself, why? Why are we lagging behind the work rate? Why are we kind of accepting it as it is? The way everyone says, oh, we all know we're going to get from Kilkenny, the honesty of effort and the work rate. Like, why is that not the same with Cork? Why can't we be like Kilkenny? Why can't we develop teams that have that non-negotiable work rate ingrained in them? And I want to get into the whys of it. So I'm going to get to that next week. I need to think more on it, basically. That's what I need to do. And like, if you're thinking, this guy's always thinking hurling, God, what else has he got going on in his life? I don't. I'm not always thinking hurling. I have stuff going on. But I do have 2 minutes commutes a day commutes in the car a day. So I do a lot of my thinking there. And I enjoy it. I actually like the 35-minute commute to clear my head. Just myself and my own. That's when I think about these things. But I just need to put a bit more thought into the work rate side of it. And get my thoughts in my head about it. I'm still going to and fro on certain things. But I will get to that next week. And it will be apt because we'll be talking about Kilkenny. We'll be talking about the Kilkenny game. And, they are the market leaders for years in the work rate off the ball. And we need to be more like them. I have a lot of things on the to-do list. So tonight was short, but there are things I will be talking about. So there are games coming up, and I'll be talking about the games, but I will be talking about stuff at the end then, separately, about Cork GAA, and I'm just going to go over a bit of the to-do list. So stay tuned, please. Please keep coming back. I know tonight was a short one and there wasn't much going on in it, but please keep coming back and listening to all these issues. So I'm going to talk about the work rate, as I said in an episode. I'm going to talk about our GDCs, our Gaelic Development Coordinators, our Games Development Coordinators, whatever they're called these days. I'm going to talk about them. Our GDCs, I have been my bond to pick with them. They're not doing enough coaching, basically. I want to talk about the Rebel Oak system. Like, for me, it's not delivering. That is clear now after a good while. It's been there a while now and it's not really delivering. It's after taking the rivalries out of a lot of our games. There's lots of games being played by kids, but are they competitive enough games? And I want to get into the rub of that. And I also want to touch on Scoil as well. Give it about 20 minutes to talk about, like, the philosophies in there, like what we're doing as regards participation, what we're doing as regards promoting the game, and just the atmosphere around the teachers. They are excellent. Like, I want to praise them. I want to give them time. Every time I go to games, I'm amazed by how nice and good the teachers are, and the attitude in there. That the whole thing is based on participation. Like, and I just want to give, I want to let them into what's going on in Scoil. Basically, you mightn't be that interested, but it's something I'm going to talk about anyway. So they're all on the to-do list. They're all going to be coming up in the pod to-do list. So they're going to be coming up in the next few weeks. So please stay tuned, stay listening. And we'll have the games to talk about. The Limerick game is going to be a huge one. I know it's only a league. We'll learn a lot about our players. And the Kilkenny game as well. And the Offaly game is not on TV. So if you can't go to that, I'll try and fill you in on that too, because I intend to go into that too. So yeah, please stay tuned. And like, we have a lot of injuries now coming up for the Kilkenny game. On Saturday, Rob Downey's out. Mark Coleman's up in the half-back line. We're missing Barrett suspended in the half-hour line. And we're missing Hardy's injured. And Dudsey Healy's injured. And Dalton's injured as well. So we've only 2 fit half-hours in Brian Roach and Fitzy. So it's going to be interesting to see who they put in there. I'm very interested in the match selection. Now the injuries now, I'm kind of like, Jesus, what kind of training are they doing if all these guys are getting injured? I'm kind of, Jesus, what kind of training is going on there at the moment? But I actually don't mind if we lose these couple of games in the league. I don't really care. I said that in the first pod. We won the league last year. We don't have to win it again this year. I'm not bothered if we don't win it. And I'd actually rather be out of the league final to give us a good run-up to that Tipperary game, because they're out of the league final now. And you could clearly see against Limerick, they weren't lifting a finger, but they weren't bothered about it. Like, they're going to be trying to climb into long grass again, like they always do. They'll have the 4 or 5 week run up to the Cork game, and I'd rather we had it as well. But it does look like we're going to be in the league final against Limerick. I don't know how good that is for us, but still. But yeah, I'm interested in team selection now this day, because the one thing about all these injuries and players missing, it gives the fringe players chances now, which is great. I want to see rotation. I want to see the fringe players getting chances and squad players and seeking to offer us something. These going to be big games for these guys, and I wish them the best. You're going to see like Mickey Mullins, Brian Roach, maybe Ethan Toomey, maybe Adam Walsh, Hugh O'Connor, these kind of guys. Darragh Sullivan hopefully get a game. I want to see all these guys getting games, and I wish them the best, and I hope it goes well for them. And I hope we do see them over the next couple of weeks. Test their pulse now at Nolan Park on Sunday. It'd be great. What a place to get your pulse tested. These guys will throw it up to you with Eddie Brennan on the line. That should be box office. If Eddie Brennan, Derek Ling and Rice on one side, and if Ben O'Connor, Ronan O'Connor on the other side, and these guys have all went to war against each other like in 05, 06. Sorry, 04 and 06, is it? 03, 04, 06. All over those years. So they'll be warring on the sideline again. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to go up Saturday. I'm going to, if anyone's around, get into my DMs, get on to me. I'm going to go up a few pints on Saturday. And stay around the Sunday then for the game. Hopefully come back with a victory. And if we don't, I'm not bothered. Let's come home with some positive performances from certain players. That's valuable too. We'll take that out of it. Right, I'm done with my waffling. As I say, a shorter episode tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. There wasn't as much meat to get into tonight as there was in the last couple of episodes, but like I've kind of been busy this week, so I haven't put as much thought into it. But I want to keep it going. I want to keep going weekly. So please subscribe, like, share, get it out there. I'd be very grateful. I much appreciate it. Right, thanks, man. We'll see you guys.